Today's story was written by Reddit user Citric Thoughts. The human race has never had it easy. Since the beginning of our existence, we have been hunted, hounded, and eaten. Even the earliest cavemen had to deal with the horrors of our world. From the predatory vampire and werewolf to things which have slipped in from other dimensions. We spent our early civilization developing at the bottom of the food chain, scavengers of the kills of more powerful predators. It was only when we mastered hunting and spread across the world that we found creatures preying upon us. It wasn't an easy process, but over the course of generations we faced the horrors of our own world. No human, no matter how strong, is an equal match for a vampire. We did find that the bloodsuckers had weaknesses we did not, and we exploited them. We could happily walk in the sunlight, we could cross running water. Unlike those ancient and savage predators that specialised in eating us, we were too versatile to be penned in and slaughtered like cattle. Though dozens of humans died in every vampire hunt, we eventually drove those blighted parasites to extinction. So too did we find the remote corners of the earth inhabited by horrors man was not meant to know. Too often we'd contact a people in the remote corners of the earth during the colonial era, only to find that the living nightmares had consumed them. What man could not defeat through brute might and torchlight, we found very vulnerable to cannon fire though. That was how we defeated countless shambling horrors, tentacled monstrosities, and beasts that could make men fall into madness with only a glance. No matter what our world threw at us, we did not surrender. Bit by bit, we pushed the boundaries of the unknown back. As colonialism fell and the locals got cannons of their own, the horrors soon retreated back into the darkness from which they came. The greatest horrors came from the stars. The first time we learned we were not alone was during the 1890s, when the invaders came for us on great and titanic machines of war. They devastated our cities and burned our people, yet they were careless. It was only later that we discovered why they fell. They assumed our alien microbes could not harm them because of incompatibilities with our biology, only to find out that their scientists were very wrong. We never stopped fighting them. Nearly a third of their war machines fell to us, even before the disease destroyed them. In all places, we fought with the tenacity only a species faced with annihilation could bring to bear. Their technology brought great advancements as time went forward. As we researched their technologies, we found the secrets of computation, flight, and advanced weaponry. Yet, we were not nearly as advanced as they were. That's why we were so receptive when they returned. Just 1 year short of a century later, Mars attacked. They sent ambassadors at first, claiming that the first invasion was an accident, a mistake. They promised to uplift us, promising us peace and prosperity. We should have realised immediately that was never their intention, but with the memory of that war only a century old, we chose to vie for peace. Once again, the devastation was soul-crushing. At the very peace conference we invited them to, they slaughtered everyone and everything, even the ceremonial doves. The talks had only been a ploy to get us into a position of vulnerability. They never intended on burying the hatchet with us. Earth was ravaged by their war machines yet again. This time, they'd protected themselves from our environment. They were careful, and they were not making mistakes. Well, no mistakes save for one, assuming we hadn't prepared. We'd spent a century quietly and secretly reverse engineering their technology and bodies, readying ourselves for the time they'd return. The results of our efforts was the development of a sonic weapon that liquefied them in their own machines of war, leaving the craft and equipment intact. Our response was swift and brutal. Mars was invaded. and humanity had turned the tables. No longer restricted by the laws of war we had imposed upon ourselves, it only took a few decades before the Martians were no more. We did try to preserve them, of course. We wanted peace, but their species was duplicitous, always choosing to stab us in the back for the smallest advantage. Every city chosen for cohabitation became a bloodbath, and every underground Martian metropolis we conquered ended up again pretending to surrender, but ultimately attempting to wipe us out again. In the end, we triumphed over them in a hard-won victory, with the secrets of their technology becoming ours. Now we were the ones with flying saucers and ray guns. We thought we were at the top of the food chain, the pinnacle of existence. With our natural predators dead and our enemies on Mars gone, we were alone in our solar system. Or so we thought. Though some of our early experiments in FTL travel ended in disaster, with one notable example returning from another dimension and having to be flung into the clouds of Neptune before we could destroy what came back with it. We did keep at it though, and eventually mastered the black mirrored force fields that allowed our ships to traverse that strange dimension without returning eyeless and mutilated. Persistence had allowed us to begin using a realm which could only be described as hell for our casual morning commute. This is what finally let us explore Pluto and the Kuiper Belt. Hoping to mine it all for resources, we found out that someone else beat us to it. We still don't have a proper name for them. Their species were fungal, with a racial memory that stretched back to the dawn of their kind. Each and every single one remembered everything their entire ancestral line had ever known. The Martians had seemed formidable to us, but the Plutonians were far worse, for this was not their solar system at all. They had travelled here solely to experiment on humans and Martians alike, trying to uncover a secret of our mammalian biology they lacked. For though they had flawless memory, they did not have the spark of innovation. They could only develop as they slowly and methodically studied the universe around them. There was never a Galileo or Einstein amongst their kind, if not for the age of their species, which we believed to be millions of years older than us. We would have easily outpaced them. The war was brutal and lasted generations, fought from planet to planet across the solar system. They activated genes implanted within our kind while we were still cavemen, causing random people on the street to explode into tentacled fungal horrors at the worst possible times. Yet, as we had always done, we endured. Learning from the Martians' folly, we had improved our own genetic engineering dramatically to make ourselves immune to alien disease. It was more difficult to rip out the ancient DNA that they'd implanted into us, but we did it. When they finally sent their motherships after us, we knew the war was close to over. I'd like to say that we had some super weapon or neat trick to bring them down, but we did not. It was simply a slow, grinding affair where attrition wore them down until our fleets could break through their shields and board them. For all their vaunted technology, they were no match for humans in physical combat. Most of the time, they would throw genetically engineered variants of Homo sapiens back at us as foot soldiers, but we broke their control and adopted them among our ranks as welcome cousins. Once their would-be meat shields were gone, the fungal beings were easily slaughtered. Once again, humanity was alone in our solar system. Yet, we could not stand still, for these invaders came from far away and were still a mystery to us. So, we decided to expand our empire, adopting their technology as well. We are ever versatile, and we never give up. Once again, we basked in glory, thinking ourselves to be standing at the peak of the mountain, unchallenged and unstoppable. It was then we left our solar system that we truly began to realise just how outmatched we were and how many different kinds of nightmares we had to face. There were the spider wasps, or so we call them, a species that would paralyze and capture other species, only to lay their eggs inside them. Their larvae would eat their way through them from the inside out, and their blood was so caustic it could eat through a starship hull. They were so pervasive and infectious that they had annihilated entire worlds, reducing them to nothing but grand colonies of their own kind. Guns were a terrible idea against them, but the Martian heat rays were not. They instantly cauterized the wounds they inflicted, allowing us to slowly annihilate them wherever their infestations popped up. We'd also started developing advanced robotics, and our androids were not something they could chew through so easily. Bit by bit, we claimed the worlds they infested. Humanity expanded, but they were not the worst. There was a species that looked similar to humans at first glance, but were hideously deformed and colourful. This appearance was a deception, for their true form was serpentine with a deformed, human-like head. They too had ray guns, but theirs were more advanced than the ones we had claimed from our defeated foes. They could transmute humans into mobile cocoons they used to store food, and destroy our mightiest tanks in a single shot. Their own abilities were vastly superhuman, and even the smallest members of their species could easily punch a grown man's head clean off. Yet they too had weaknesses. Their bodies were simply powered armour, doing their best impression of a humanoid form. The right type of EMP could disable them, leaving the snakes trapped in their own bodies. They also had a vulnerable spot on their deformed heads, and a good shot could reliably kill them. Eventually, they decided we weren't clowning around, turned tail, and fled from us. The hunters were next, standing over 8 feet tall and equipped with powerful and advanced weaponry that could blast or cut through powered armour as easily as a hot knife through butter. They had been visiting our world for eons, and the keepers of our ancient and secret records recognised them immediately. They looked at us as we would look upon animals, finding us to be supreme among prey. They never invaded, and never made war upon us, but they were a constant plague we could not shake off. Whenever we were at our weakest after a war, they'd be there. They would attack our soldiers and carry off our skulls as trophies. Their tendency to nuke themselves should any of their number be captured made our usual tactic of simply beating our enemies up and stealing their technology less than totally effective. An entire organisation was created solely to deal with them, and them alone. The hunters became the hunted, and it was only a matter of time before we had managed to kill them and take their things as we had the others. Surprisingly, they are the species we've gotten along with best of all. For the first time, our mutual empires decided not to engage in a genocidal war to the death. With our technology equal, they did not look at us as friends or allies, but as peers. We have since signed non-aggression treaties with them, the only ones that mankind has ever managed to sustain with an alien race. Despite numerous skirmishes and small-scale conflicts, the peace has endured. Some among our number have even joined them on their hunts, embracing their predatory lifestyle. The worst of all the ones we encountered by far were yet to come though. The infiltrators are horrors beyond horror, for they could look like anyone or anything else. All it took was coming into contact with a single cell from their bodies, and they would eventually take over their new host, making them into yet another infiltrator. One completely unaware of what it was until its cover was blown. We lost 3 colonies before we even realised that everyone on them was dead, and ultimately had to sterilise those worlds just to ensure we killed every single cell. Like the fungal creatures, they retained a genetic memory, but theirs was based upon every creature they had inhabited, and every form they'd stolen. A single infiltrator, given some metal scraps, was perfectly capable of building a faster-than-light capable ship alone in a cave. It was to our supreme dismay that we found out one of them had crashed on our own world eons ago. Had it not landed in Antarctica, Earth too would be nothing but their kind. Yet we endured. The nanotechnology and biotechnology we'd stolen from various species allowed us to protect ourselves from them. Our hunter-killer robots allowed us to exterminate them. Now we test each world we settle before we arrive to make sure that it isn't an infiltrator world in disguise. Of course, it was only a matter of time before our own robots too turned upon us, waging a war that threatened to exterminate humanity. It was even more devastating than most alien invasions because they were trusted and integrated into every level of society. This led to a great jihad of all mankind, leading to their ultimate decommissioning. They may have been inexhaustible, but we were not alone. Today, we thank those that saved us, our human upload cousins, one of many kinds developed by the fungal species as part of their unethical experiments centuries earlier. Today, thanks to a combination of genetic engineering and mind uploading, we no longer need AI, and sapient pure machine intelligence is fully outlawed. Of course, this is only a brief summary of the nightmares that we found among the stars. There were the Time Warpers, who tried to possess all mankind. There were the Snatchers, who would grow replacements for people in pods. There were the furry, suckable-sized gluttons, eternally ravenous, smart, and happy to work together to roll over everything else. There were the strange multi-dimensional sapient colours, which rent sanity and warped all who interacted with them. There were the Titans, creatures that resembled our form, but who were so utterly powerful that a single individual could happily endure a blast from the main cannon of a starship and punch through the other side under their own self-powered flight or with a single blast of energy from their eyes. In all, we've encountered over 300 other sapient species so far, and only one has decided to make peace with us, however tenuous that peace may be. We've learned that humanity is stronger and faster and smarter than any of them, but there are those who are vastly more powerful than us. For every one so weak we can break them with our bare hands, there are others who are so strong that we're as weak as a newborn kitten compared to them. For every one we've outsmarted and run circles around, there's another that completely outmatches us. Even our adaptation is completely surpassed by the infiltrators and similar species. Yet we do possess something none of those creatures do. When they're outmatched, they run. When they're hunted, they flee. When they're faced with annihilation, they crumble. Humanity has the one trait none of them do, and the one trait that has allowed us to win victory after victory after victory on our march to conquer the stars. The indomitable human spirit never wavers, never surrenders, and will never stop. Today, we stand atop worlds where once every living thing upon their surface wanted us dead. They are gone, wiped from existence, or chased from our ever-expanding bubble of space. I have no doubt that, as we continue outward, we'll encounter even more horrors, and even greater ones. Even now, there are plans to colonise the hell dimension we use for FTL travel, and there is strange and ravenous insectoid chittering coming from every direction outside of our own galaxy. Yet there is one thing I know. When they come, we'll be waiting for them, just like our most ancient blood-sucking foes. If they mean us harm, we'll drive them to extinction. Every star that shines is ours to take. Soon, they'll find out the true horror was always here, and was always us. To whatever goes bump in the night, fear us. We're hunting you.